Hello, and welcome to our second stream, our second design thinking stream. So let's
Hello,
start
hello.
with a short recap. Hello, Raphael. Let's start with a short recap of our last stream. So in our last stream, we did some expert interviews where we asked some how might we questions. You can see the result here. So those are my how might we questions. And we also get a lot of how might we questions from Raphael. And the final outcome was this list of the most important how might we questions in our opinion. So we voted on a couple of those questions. And as you can see, we have some winners here, like how might we make big tasks simpler? How might we help people stay committed? And so on. And today is our second part. And Raphael, what are we doing today?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I can add some more notes to the thing you just mentioned. So because you were mentioning that we did the how might we's in the last stream, and maybe I can also add that or quickly explain what the how might we's are. So the how might we's basically reframe problems in a solution-oriented way. So we asked ourselves, okay, we would like to develop a specific app to split down complex tasks into more achievable goals. And then we asked ourselves solution oriented questions. How can we make these things actually happen? And as Mao already showed you here, we took a look at all of the how might we's we ideated in the last stream and we voted on them. So we decided on the most important ones, right? And yeah, and today we will continue with those and do some more exercises. And I can quickly show you my screen here. Exactly. So these are the how might we's that we voted on. And based on these how might we's, we will today create a map. And this map should basically represent the journey of the user from the very beginning to the goal that the user wants to achieve. And this shouldn't be by any means an actual roadmap that is very specified and that explains all steps of the customer journey in detail, but instead it should help us to clarify and identify the most important part of the process, so that we know on which area of the app we are actually going to focus, because we're doing a design sprint and we want to avoid investing too much time while still having the best possible outcome. And this exercise is a very quick one that helps us to keep on track and that helps us to identify the most important part of the app. And yeah, and in order to do those, we will first do two quick exercises today. The first exercise would be the long-term goal. And in this exercise, we are going to ask ourselves, what should be the final long-term goal of this application? So we are just thinking and being super optimistic. What if everything goes according to plan and is working perfectly? What are we trying to achieve, and what's the goal that we are trying to deliver to the customer? And after this quick exercise, we are going to come up with some sprint questions. So we are going the exact opposite direction, and we are going to ask ourselves, what could possibly go wrong? What are the traps that we could fall into? What are the risks that we are facing in this project? And that's also just a very quick exercise to get the creative juices flowing, so to say. And based on these two little exercises, we are then coming up with the roadmap that I was just explaining. And we are using the goals from the long-term goal questions to incorporate those in our roadmap. And yeah, and so basically I would say this stream is the last one where we are ideating and using design thinking techniques. And after this stream and after doing this map, we are then going into the execution mode, and we're going more into the technical details of the development and also the wireframe.
Yeah,
And maybe
so
Mao
exactly.
can give a quick look out to that part.
Yeah, so the final goal is that we have a real app. So we want to work together and build a real app live in the stream. So we hope that in a couple of streams, we end up with a usable app that every one of you will be able to use, and we have a real product out there. Our main goal is not to have the perfect product at the end, but our goal is even to have a usable product and a real product. So it's not only some theoretical videos we make here, but we have a real product at the end.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, great. Then I guess we can already start with the first exercise, right? So
Yeah.
I will just show your screen here again, and I see you already opened our whiteboard online software as well, Miro, and we're going to start with the first exercise, and it's called long-term goal, as we already talked about this before. And this is basically a task that should take no longer than 10 minutes. So I'm not browsing on my phone here. I will set up a timer for this. And usually, when you do this with a bigger team, because 2 people is not really common for a design sprint, then you would get 10 minutes, and everyone should come up with one and to maximum 2 long-term goals. Since we're only 2 people and we need some variety, maybe we can try to come up with 2 long-term goals each person, and based on those, we can then decide on the most important one, if that's fine for you.
Sounds great.
Okay. Yeah, and since we're in the stream, yeah, like usually the technique would be to just come up with a long-term goal without talking to increase the productivity as much as possible and then discuss the outcome. But since we're in the stream, this format tends to be a bit difficult. So maybe we can, yeah, discuss it a bit more than it would happen usually. I don't know. What's your opinion on that?
I think it makes sense to take turns. So I start with the first one. Maybe we can discuss it on the fly, and then you
Yeah,
do
sure.
the second one. Maybe that's okay. Let's do
Sounds
it
like a
that
good
way.
plan.
So, okay, in 2 years' time, super optimistic goal in 2 years' time. I guess, I mean, it's a very long period for the rather simple app and low expectations I have for this project. But let's say
That is true.
in 2 years' time, it would be awesome if there are like, let's say if we have 1,000 users, or maybe if we want to be super optimistic, maybe 10,000 users would be awesome to have. Is this kind of a goal that, or should it be more product focused?
It doesn't. I think it doesn't have to be necessarily product focused, but maybe we can make it less specific. So instead of saying 1,000 users, maybe we can call it I don't know, increasing amount of users using the product, or regular
Like that.
recurring users, something like that. Maybe would
I,
be.
I would say we could say we have a growing user base. What do you think
That's
about that?
That sounds good to me, because these goals should later be used for the roadmap. And of course, we could say we would like 1,000 users, but then we would have to think about how could we achieve 1,000 users. So I think it would be best to stay or to be a bit more generic here.
Okay.
In 2 years' time, growing user base. So yeah, I think that's already a very good one. I think that's the most obvious one for new software applications. You would like to have an ever growing user base, of course.
Yeah.
So maybe I can give it another shot. In 2 years' time, we were talking in the first stream about the actual value of the stream and what we would like to achieve with the application. And we said we would like to help people achieve their goals and be less distracted. So maybe in 2 years' time, people will be in the position to get things done more efficiently because of our app. Or to get things done.
The next one I'm thinking about, I don't know if this is a good one, but I'll let you hear it. So I'm thinking in 2 years' time, I want to still use it myself to increase my own productivity. Is this acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely add it. I think there's no exact right or wrong, but I think it's a good measurable goal. Saying, okay, I would like to achieve it. I would like to still use it on my own, so that means I see a real value in it. So
yeah,
I think this
exactly.
definitely.
That's what was my thought. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe then we can reframe it to in 2 years' time, the app still offers actual value to its users or something like that.
I mean, it's kind of the same as the first one of mine, I guess. So because if we have or maybe it's a little different. So the first one is about new users and the second one is about retaining users, I guess. In 2 years' time, I want that our first customers still use the app. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think that's a very good goal, yeah, because it's measurable. It makes a lot of sense, and it means that the app is actually helping the user and continues to help them, and it's not some app you try a single time, then you're like, hey, it's nice, but I don't really see the whole benefit of it. So I think that's a nice one. And yeah, maybe we can think about a fourth one. What I was thinking about before was that maybe it can help, but it's, we don't have to be too creative here. I think we already nailed some, but maybe we can say we can change the mindset of some people through the application. I think that's also something that I would like, so that people get or become more. How do you call that? People who are actually executing something, or they become doers instead of thinkers, if you know what I mean. Because I think the app should also encourage people to get started. You know what I mean?
Exactly, so that they are more effective at getting things done, even if they don't use the app for a specific task, but because of the things they learned, of the principles they learned while using the app, they're applying this knowledge in their everyday life, maybe. But yeah, it's hard to. In 2 years' time, people will get into the mindset of getting things done. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we have here now, in 2 years' time, we have a growing user base. In 2 years' time, people will be able to get things done more efficiently. We want that our first customers still use the app, and then the last one would be, in 2 years' time, people will use our application to get into the mindset of getting things done. Is there anything specific that you still have in mind here? Or, I mean, since we're only 2 people, and I think we agreed on the major goal already, I think we could also just continue. But if you still have something else in mind, we can definitely add that.
Yeah, no, the only thing I was thinking about was this learning aspect, maybe, but I think you covered that in your last one. So I'm happy with the
So you mean
sprint we
that
have.
people learn more about getting into the flow and getting things done, and
Yeah.
the psychology maybe also behind um,
Mm.
executing it. I think that's also an important one for me, definitely. Yeah. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Yeah, then let's just stick to these four. And then the next thing would be to vote on those. But since we're only two people, and usually for this exercise, it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes, and the decider should then decide on the final long-term goal. I think it would be wise that you simply, as a decider, decide on the most important one. So, what's the major goal of this sprint and of this application? What do we want to achieve?
Mhm. Okay.
I mean, they are definitely very similar to each other in a way, but I think there are maybe slight differences.
Mhm.
The one is maybe more targeted towards the if you may, so the financial or the
Mm.
user base goal. The other one is more targeted towards the
I
mindset.
think, yeah, this one is more. Can you see which one I highlighted?
I
This
see
one.
that. Yeah.
I think this one is more quantity based, and I would say this one is more quality based,
hmm
and I think I like this one the most, so I go with this one.
The in two
In two
years
years'
we will
time,
use
we'll use
we'll use our application to get into the mindset of getting things done.
yeah.
Okay, and in order to, but we can think about this in a second. But basically, um, the more specific goal would then be people are using the app constantly and are basically inheriting the knowledge of the app and are uh, not thinking about it anymore, but they are just executing and applying the thing they learn through the app.
Yeah, but they are also using the app regularly, and yeah,
Okay.
but I think you summed it up very, very good. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Then I would say we can continue based on this goal, and we're going to take a look at the sprint questions, which are directly next to the long-term goal. If you scroll to the right side,
Mhm.
yeah, and there's the timer. So we
Perfect
we
timing.
nailed we nailed the time here. Maybe you can zoom in a little bit. I don't know about the viewers, but I think it's a little bit
Mhm.
small. I'm not sure.
Is it better?
Yeah,
Maybe
that's yeah,
just one
that's
more.
that's
Or
yeah, that's much better. Yeah, perfectly. And this is just a template from Miro for the design sprint. So we have some dummy notes here, as you can see, but we can just duplicate them and use them as a basis for our sprint questions. And yeah, and maybe again to quickly explain the purpose of this exercise. In the first exercise, we asked ourselves what could possibly go right. So if everything works perfectly and everything is going according to plan, what would be the ideal outcome of the application in 2 years' time? And now we are doing the exact opposite. We are asking ourselves what could possibly go wrong, and we are being very pessimistic to discuss and tackle the risks that we could face during the development process. And maybe Ma, you can again start off with the first one.
this now is not time bound. Do you see that correctly? So
I would
it's
I would
just
say we
in
we
general.
have the with the same time limit again. So I wouldn't go too much
I
into
mean,
detail, but
yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's not like in the next couple of. It's not if it
okay. Now I see the
can
question.
be
Yeah.
before the launch or after
Yeah.
it.
So
Something
this
like that.
is yeah, exactly. So this is a sprint question which is related to the sprint process. So it's not really about which
Okay.
risks could we encounter in the
hmm
next 2 years, but it's mainly about also challenges during the development. Maybe
Okay.
during the design research, we realize, okay, 1,000 other applications are doing everything we do in a much better way. So that could be a risk that I thought about. Another risk could
hmm
be we are thinking or we underestimated the effort to develop something like that. Another risk, you know what I mean. So these are the boundaries. And I see you're
Okay.
already writing something.
Yeah. I don't know how to phrase it. So can we do something other apps, or can we do, yeah, can we, can we, do something other productivity apps don't? Let's put it that way. Question mark. Okay. So this would be my first one.
So something that sets us apart from other applications, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a big point that I'm also asking myself, and I think that's also something that we definitely have to tackle. And after we created the map today, we are going into some very high level design research. So also looking maybe at competitors and other solutions, so we can definitely tackle these questions that arise now later on in the process, and then think about specific maybe features that are maybe similar to competitors, because we are talking about an app that's very general. You know, I'm sure, even though I never really thought about the topic, I'm sure there are a lot of competitors in this area and a lot of other applications. But then again, we can maybe think, how can we make this feature that already exists better in terms of usability? How can we make it more accessible, or how can we make it more playful, so that it's that it's more enjoyable to use the application. So I think there are definitely some chances here.
Okay.
Okay, then another one would maybe be, can we deliver something usable without working off stream?
That's also a good one.
So what I mean by that is basically our major goal before we started this project was to use the stream as the only working time. So no one of us will, let's say, work 8 hours without the stream, and then come back with a finished result and then discuss it. But instead, we really try to do everything in the stream. And maybe that's something that's a bit naive and it won't work. Then it's also fine. But I definitely want to add that as a risk here.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. My next one. I'm thinking of the development process, and I'm thinking in the direction of not getting lost in the details, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
how, yeah, can we keep the let's be a little bit more concrete here. Can we keep the technology stack lean? So yeah, what I mean by that is that we, in order to achieve this goal, and also along the line of your input, but are we able to do everything in the stream? We need also, we need to keep we must be able to build something very quickly, and so the temptation is high for me as a developer that I use the newest and fanciest technologies and be very detail orientated in my coding process, and so I think it's a risk that I don't keep it simple enough so we can move forward quickly.
You are planning to approach a new project, are you usually, so let's say you're not restricted by the client, or you're not restricted by the company you're working for, if you rather, whether it's internally or externally. So are you usually using new technology so you can educate yourself, or are you always using like the ideal technology and you are educating yourself about
Yeah.
newer technologies in your spare time? So what's
Yeah,
the
a little
usual approach?
bit. Yeah, a little bit of both. So
Okay.
it's in my spare time, I want to do things that are interesting, and interesting is the new stuff is interesting, and the old stuff is not very is boring. And so in my spare time, I don't want to work with proven technology that is boring, but I know how it works and that it works. And also the other one that yeah, the learning aspect of it. I also want to learn something new. And so yeah, I guess that's good in general, I think, because you want to stay on track. But yeah, if you want to get something, a specific project done in time, then it's maybe not the best thing to do.
No, I can. This resonates definitely from a design perspective with me as well, because sometimes I feel like I always want to try out new stuff, new technology, new tools, whatsoever. But this can very, I don't know about development, but this can very quickly lead into lack of quality because you're investing too much time to learn about new stuff that you're not delivering the quality, as opposed to you're working with a, or you're using a running working system, so you don't have to think about the other circumstances and you can just get the, invest time into the actual execution and not so much into trying things out. But I guess
Yeah.
that's something you have to think about up front, right? Okay, and yeah, maybe we can think about another one. What could be another sprint question here? Can we deliver something usable? Maybe another point would also be, can we find users to try our app? Because we're still very new in this streaming format, right? And we don't have the biggest user base. So I think it might even be a big challenge because we are not planning to do any marketing or any promotion, really, right? So it might be hard to really find a user base, because the one thing is to find someone who opens the website a single time, but to really find a user who is trying to include, or like, include this application into his life, even if it's only for one day, might even be a challenge to really try to use this app for a working day. How can this improve the person's life? So
Yeah,
maybe we
definitely.
can also add some marketing question here. Do you have anything else in mind, Mao?
Yes, so the next one is um, are we able to stay motivated to do both the work on the app and the streaming stuff? Because yeah, it's definitely not always easy if you have a job or you are a student, and to do the streaming and then also work on this thing. And maybe at the start now it's exciting because it's new, and yeah, we're trying out something new, and this is uh, this gets us going. But in the long run, maybe if the development process gets harder and there are less interesting problems to solve, maybe it's hard to stay motivated.
Yeah, that's also definitely a good point. Yeah. Especially because it's the very first project we are tackling now. We don't have any actual experience on how long we can commit ourselves to this project. So I think that's definitely a viable one. Yeah. Okay, and maybe I can come up with a last one, and then we can go into the voting process. And I'm just thinking, what else is there that could go wrong? I think there's a lot of things that could go wrong, but um, maybe I mean it has some interference with the other notes that we already have, but maybe can we find the right niche? Not sure if you use a French either. Niche for the application. I think you don't.
I don't know.
But I'm not sure. So can we find the right niche for the application? So what I mean by that is, yeah, I think there are quite a lot of task management tools, and there are definitely a lot of focusing applications. And what we are looking for is probably a nice intersection between those two applications. But that is so an application that is not too much task manager to compete with a task manager or project management tool, of course, but also an application that is not purely about concentrating, because then you could just use a simple app that blocks all other services, for example.
Yeah. By the way, did you see the Apple conference last week or this start?
No, I
the start
actually
of this
didn't.
week, I guess.
Did they release our application?
No, not exactly our application, but they added a lot of features to stay focused. So
Okay.
they have now in the new iOS 15, I guess, they have a feature so you have multiple configurations like working or like
Like spare time.
yeah, spare time, exactly. And depending on what you choose, you can only use a certain set of apps, and yeah, it works across all Apple devices. So it's definitely a big topic, but yeah, it's not really. Yeah, I think it only helps us that the big players are also focusing on this topic. Maybe we can.
Yeah,
I,
snatch some
I have
features from there.
yeah. I have a saying in mind, but I don't know if you say it in English, like jump on the train. Is this something you say in English?
I'm not sure about that. Jump on the train. Yeah, okay, so now we spent the time on finding the right English phrases. Maybe to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not sure actually. I don't know, but but I just googled it on the site, and yeah, I think we definitely found a topic that is intriguing or that is interesting for a lot of people, obviously, because already I think we had like 2 viewers in the last stream, and the one that was commenting was saying the same thing, that he's having problems concentrating the whole time, which is funny because I think that's nowadays with it sounds like we're super old, but nowadays with social media and so much distractions, I think that's really a big topic, and also big corporations are focusing more and more on that issue, definitely. Yeah. Okay. I guess we can move on to the next task, right? We found 6 different sprint questions already, and before moving on, we could vote on them so that we find the most important ones. And as opposed to the one we did before, the long-term goal, I think maybe here it makes sense to actually vote for real. So not only you, also me, because we have more variety than before. And yeah, and usually you use 1 dot per vote, but maybe we can increase that because we're only 2 people. So maybe, I don't know,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
3 dots per person, maybe again. So we'll just quickly duplicate
Sounds
the
good.
ones from before. Some circles from here. All right, and I will duplicate them here. Okay, great. And maybe you can start again, and we just discuss quickly our decision making here.
Okay,
So you
so
are free to choose. Everyone, so each of us has three dots. Maybe you can also have 4 because you're a decider, so you have 1 more than me. And yeah,
okay.
and you can basically spend all of your 4 dots on a single node, or you can split them however you prefer.
Yeah, I think those are all big ones, but I think I will go with 2 for this one because I think this is connected to many other ones of this. Like if we don't do something, I mean, I don't think it has to be something completely new, but it has to be different enough so it's not the same as all the other tools already, the things all the other tools already do. So I add 2 on this. The first one, can we do something other productivity apps don't?
So I guess we can even combine those 2, I guess, because they are very similar to each other.
Yeah, I think so too. Okay.
But that's I totally agree with you. That's a very important one.
This one, and then because I see it from the developer's perspective, also one on the, can we keep the technology stack very simple and lean?
Okay, so I definitely agree with you on the very first one. So I will also spend 2 parts here. Can we find the right niche, or also can we do something other productivity apps don't? So how do we separate our app from the many apps that already exist in the App Store or in the web, on the web, or whatever? And I'm a bit torn between, can we deliver something usable without working off stream, or even finding users? But maybe that's also a very important one, yeah. Because the other ones, or especially the last one, is very much about the motivation part and not so much about the application. So I prefer to keep that out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we can continue and stick with those already. So the main goal is, after these 2 exercises, to have one specific long-term goal that we would like to achieve, and then to have 2 or 3 long-term, 2 to 3 sprint questions that we can look at during the design sprint, and so to say, is a compass or as some guidance. Are we still on track, and are we going into the right direction? Do we have to adjust something? So if you're again playing around with your technology stack and you take a look at the question, can we keep the technology stack lean? So you can maybe rethink that problem. Okay, then we will basically go for these 3, right? The first one would be, can we find the right niche for the application? Then can we find users to try our app? And then can we keep the technology stack clean?
Great. Looks good.
Okay, good. Then we can move on to the most important exercise in this sprint, which would be the map creation. And for this map creation, we will need the long-term goal. And I'm just looking at the goals we were talking about before, and I think we chose the one with the mindset, right? In 2 years' time, people will use our application.
Exactly.
Perfect. So I will go down to the exemplary map. And I already started with the rough outline. So before starting with the map, you usually think about a rough outline. It's nothing that you have to stick to very strictly. It's just there as a rough guideline to start or to get into the into the ideation phase. And we basically have here these four rough building blocks. The first one is discovery, the second one learning, the third one using, and the fourth one is the goal. And before we start to fill those four steps, we will have to think about the target audience. And I already added three possible personas, so to say, here. But maybe we can quickly discuss those three, and you can tell me your opinion on those, and we can iterate these three personas a little bit. So the first one is professional. So and this could be basically anyone who is working let's say office job, who is doing something digital, and who is quickly distracted, who has a lot of different tasks, and who's not really sure about where to start and how, you know what I mean, how to get focused.
Yeah. I think what I'm thinking is maybe one trick to find the right to find users might be that we focus on a very specific target audience. So, what do you think about not using the generic term professional here, but maybe we could add as an extra target audience group, we could add like digital creators or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that in the first stream while we were coming up with these how might we's, I think one question that we thought about during the session was how can we target, I think, a user base that is very specialized. So, and to create, I don't know, features that are targeted towards developers, for example. Yeah, so maybe that's all a good road to go. You were saying digital creators, or
Yeah, that
or
was
are
the
you
first
thinking?
thing that I'm thinking about people like us, basically. So people who are
You're thinking about
working.
developers, but you're thinking, how can I
Yeah.
include Raphael here as well?
No. I'm thinking about people who build mostly digital products. That's what I'm thinking about. So
Yeah, digital creators sounds very YouTube content creators like to me, but I think the
yeah,
wording is
yeah,
not
yeah,
that important. I get
yeah,
what you mean. We can call it
like
digital whatever, digital creators if you want.
or like products. No, yeah,
Yeah, we don't have to
maybe
get stuck on the wording. I think it's
yeah,
fine. We can definitely
yeah,
change it later on if
yeah,
we come up with a better name. But I think
yeah.
the user base knows what we're talking about. We know what we're talking about, so
Mm,
I think that's fine. Another thing
yeah.
that I thought about just very roughly was students, because I thought the application is probably good for students because they usually have these I don't know, tests that they are preparing for, and they have a very specific amount of stuff that they have to learn. But this what they have to learn is usually a very big chunk of topics. So our app could maybe help them during a learning session to break down one specific task or one specific topic that they have to learn into smaller, more achievable tasks. That's why I thought students might be a specific group, because also maybe there are some features that are targeted more towards this audience, and maybe it doesn't have to be students only, maybe also people who are basically just studying, learning something new.
Yeah, but I think students covers that very well. Sounds good.
And the third one was private, which it's basically someone who's using the application for his personal purposes, for cleaning the kitchen, getting things done in the flat, in the house, whatsoever. But if you have do you have any other ideas apart from
Yeah,
these three, or?
yeah. I'm wondering, is private is basically everyone. maybe is this too too broad? I don't know.
Probably, yeah.
Um,
I was just quickly writing something so that we don't have to start from scratch. But we can definitely also minimize it to 2 only. We don't have to overcomplicate this. Maybe again because I think not everyone was here from the beginning. The whole purpose of this map is not to come up with a highly detailed roadmap that covers every single step of the actual user journey, but the major goal is to find the focal point of this sprint. It doesn't mean that we are not covering any other part of this journey, but it just means that we can see, okay, which part of this journey is the most important one. So it's not really that strict. If we forget one, one target audience now, maybe we can still adjust it later on.
what is your opinion on adding a age-related target audience? So let's say like people between 16 and 40 or something like that. So like that we focus on people who are very active on social media and maybe most affected by short attention spans and so on. Or is this too? I mean, it doesn't really fit with the other two because
So ADHD patients are.
yeah. So basically,
what's the thing you're saying now? Yeah, I think
no,
that's actually a good thought. Yeah, I like that idea.
Like, I mean, short attention spans, and the problem we're tackling here is mostly. I mean, things are changing now that older people also use WhatsApp and so on, and Facebook. Maybe they are also getting less able to focus. I don't know, but
yeah, I think especially this multitasking phenomenon is. I think I wouldn't say that people who are 50 or 60 years old are really affected by that, because even though they might use social media now, I think because they grew up in a very different way from probably us, not so much digital native. Maybe I think they have a different relationship to the media, to the medium. So yeah, I think that's definitely a valid point. Yeah, we can add that, but
yeah, it was just a thought. I'm not 100% sure, because when I'm thinking about how does it change things, maybe let's just add it and see if we
let's just get into the
to...
exactly, and then we can still remove it if we see, okay, there's no difference between a student and someone with ADHD. I don't know. I mean, how to call this? Shall we just call it ADHD?
No. ADHD is a very specific thing. So let's.
No, I was just kidding. Sorry. Constant.
People
person with
short attention spans, or Generation Z and what is our generation called?
That's a good question. I think Generation Y is probably my parents' generation or our parents' generation.
I think Generation Z and millennials. That's.
Are we Generation X? No, we're millennials.
No, we are millennials. Yeah.
Okay, so Generation Z. So we are not part of the problem.
No, both. I think Generation Z and millennials.
Yeah. I was just trying to make myself feel better.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not using stereotypes here at all. Just wanted to highlight.
I mean, it's not so bad if you include yourself in the stereotype.
Exactly. If you discriminate someone, you have to discriminate yourself as well. No, but we're just messing around here. Of course, it's just fun and games. Okay, so I think we got that down, and the next thing would be to add the goal we defined earlier before. And I will duplicate that here now. I will paste it here. So that's the goal that we would like to achieve with our application. Maybe we have to reframe that a little bit later on if we see that that doesn't really match. But I think we're on a good road. And now we will start with the discovery phase. And it doesn't even matter if the whole purpose of our application has nothing to do with discovery and we just want to sketch it out still, so that we think about circumstances and maybe problems that could occur on a later stage. So discovery, how could someone discover our application? I think one way how they could discover the application would be through the stream, probably. And or through, let's say, YouTube. So they are watching the stream live or rewatching the stream, how we are going to tackle the whole development process, and then they are curious and they're going to learn more about the application.
Yep.
Do you have something else in mind here?
Yeah, let's just get the obvious ones out of the way. Next one is like social media, I guess. So you're probably tweeting about it. I mean, stream YouTube. YouTube is maybe also.
Yeah. So let's specify the stream specifically, probably, and then we can say social media. And by that we mean posting on social media like Facebook, Twitter, whatsoever.
So those are all relevant for all three. How or doesn't this matter? So like, do you know what I mean? So do we have to duplicate those now for every?
No, not at all. No, we're just adding. No, we can then just map three users on one node. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
No. Okay, then what else? Maybe I'm not sure. I'm just talking out loud now, but maybe colleagues. So, like spreading the word by talking to other people. Maybe that's. Or is it something you wouldn't add?
Sure, I would. Maybe we can make it a little bit more generic. Like, I think word of mouth is the English saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the word, but I wasn't sure if I'm going to say something like jump on the train. I don't know what you were implying before, but yeah. So word of mouth. So we talking about the product with someone we know.
Yeah, we and others again talking to others and so
exactly.
On. So, like it's spreading.
Okay, exactly. And what else? Is there something else?
Yeah. So we said we don't want to do ads.
Yeah, maybe like could be corporations, like someone mentions us on their blog page, reviews, something like that. So
yeah, let's just call it blogging or blog. Yeah.
SEO, like search engines, Google. I don't really think so.
This is the hardest one. I mean,
definitely. Yeah, I don't think we stand any chance here.
But yeah, it's the hardest one, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's add it.
And yeah, I'm not. If you still have something else in mind, we can also add it later on. But I think we already have the most obvious ones here. And okay, and the next one would be learning. And this there doesn't have to be a specific node for each of the ones in the discovery phase, because some might directly lead to using the app. For example, if we're talking about discovery, word of mouth, then if we talk about the application, maybe the person will go to our website. Maybe we have a small landing page for the application, and he's going to take, you know what I mean? And he's going to take a look at the website, or he's going to take a look at the stream before, like at the process of developing the app before actually checking out the app itself.
So can you explain learning again real quick for me, please? So it's learning how to use the app, or learning what the app does, or
exactly. So the first part is discovery. So the user gets to know so this the student or the digital creator or the millennial, whatever, gets to know the concept or the whole idea of the app the first time. So this exists. He knows now, okay, that's something that he could use. And then before using the application, so before clicking on download, opening the app, setting the timer, he's taking a look at a website. If you're talking about an analog application, maybe he's taking a look at a brochure or at a flyer. If we're talking about, let's just say we're talking about going to the doctor, for example. So the discovery phase would be maybe looking for a doctor online, or one of your colleagues or your family is recommending the doctor. And then the learning phase would be, calling the doctor, getting to know the doctor, asking if he's offering the services you might need, taking a look at the website, and making yourself comfortable with what this actually is. Because this is a journey where the user could say, okay, discovery, he gets to know the app through the stream. He's going to the website and then he's like, okay, I already tried 10 of those apps. I don't really need it. And he's leaving at this point, That's why it might make sense to sketch that out here. But again, we don't have to overcomplicate it. So if we see that there are not too many stations, we can also just skip this point.
Yeah, I mean, the next one, so stream. And so the stream is more about the process of building the app. So they discover that an app like ours exists, or that our app exists, and then maybe videos. So these are now videos that are explaining the app itself, not the process of making it. So I guess this is another one.
Yeah, I think so too. Then learning more about the application. Maybe we can move on to the using, and because I can't really think about too much information here. Maybe we come up with something else while thinking about the using. Because, again, this is just a rough outline. We can adjust this if we see the learning part doesn't make any sense for our application. It's just a very rough scheme for any sort of product. So it doesn't have to work for every product, really. Okay, in terms of using, maybe we can define very high-level steps on how to use the app. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to describe every single click, but maybe very high-level steps. So the first one would be maybe, and that's already something we could discuss. Like, is there some sort of login functionality? Or register, let's call it that way. Does the user have to register online before I can use the app, or can he just open the website and he can directly start using it? So is there some sort of mechanism that prevents the user from using it? Yeah, is it maybe even a native application that he has to download?
Are these now questions, or do we or are these wishes?
We can define. We can now sketch out the way how we imagine the process.
Okay, I imagine it to be a web app. So, web app. So this basically means it's not the user has to download it, but yeah, it's a web app which should be very mobile friendly. Maybe is mobile friendly. Can this be a separate thing, like, or is this too specific or too?
No, I think it's not. I think we could maybe call it that way. Opens the application on a mobile device.
Okay.
Because then we could differentiate, okay, maybe the millennial will open it on the mobile application and the other one will open it on the desktop device. If you want to differentiate that, if you think that's something important. In my mind, it's definitely also a more mobile application. It should definitely cover both, probably, but for me, the target is definitely mobile because it's easier to develop from a visual point of view. You can get something running much more quickly. And I think also the target audience is probably more oriented to mobile devices.
Mhm.
Okay, so he opens it. So before, can he direct? So if he's interested, let's say there's a landing page, and you click on the landing page on use now, or maybe there's not even a landing page. I'm just talking out loud. Can he directly start? Can he directly use it, or is there some? Yeah, does he have to register? Does he have to enter his email address? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, so technically, we could build it in a way that people can use it without registering, because
Definitely, yeah.
we could save the data in the browser, and if they use the same browser, if they visit the app again, then all their data is still there.
So you save everything
So
locally, basically.
yeah. So maybe, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's possible. I'm not 100% sure if we want to do it from a business, quote unquote, business perspective, because
Mm.
it's easier to retain users if they have an account, and it could also lead to problems like people losing their data because we can't guarantee that the stuff
Mhm.
stays in the browser, because if they're
Yeah.
cleaning their browser cache or something like that, or switching devices, maybe they lose data. But
No,
I
definitely
mean,
get the point. So, yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I'm
So
not
let's
sure about it, because
maybe. Yeah.
it would be great if users can start as quickly as possible. So from that perspective, it would be awesome to use it without registering. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
think maybe we can find something in between. So the first step is very accessible, so the user can directly use everything. But
mm,
at a later point in the process, he has to enter his email address in order to save the data. For
mm,
example, he can use it for one session, and then we
yeah,
can add some sort of reminder telling the user, hey, awesome that you're using the app. If you want to continue using the app, you have to register now.
yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think, yeah, something in between would be great. So let's
Okay, so let's say this is
say,
the first step.
yeah,
So he opens the app. Then what could be the second one? The second one would be um,
can I
you.
immediately start using it? Or,
Mhm.
or
I'm just describing this now on a very high level basis, but maybe the
mm,
next part would be split tasks into, or split major task into smaller tasks. Could that be
mhm.
something that he's going to do? We didn't yet define how this looks like, but this would be
Yeah,
probably the major thing.
maybe, but I don't know how detailed it should be, but I guess the first step would be to define the major task, and then, but yeah, maybe I mean, it's implied by this one, so I don't know if it's necessary to create the separate card, but
Yeah,
just
we
so that
can.
we are on the same page.
Yeah, totally. Now we can. I think we can keep it at this level for now, but let's
Mm,
just try to get to the goal. And if we see we need a more specific level, we can still
okay, no, I'm fine.
split it down. Okay, so split major task into smaller tasks. Once he splitted those, he didn't yet start with the execution, right? So what would be the next thing? Maybe to set uh, an or a time interval. Would that be something? Like how long he wants to focus? Or would we suggest something to him based on the tasks he entered? Maybe that's also
Mm.
something we have to think about.
Maybe we should be opinionated. So maybe we should um, we should set the time interval for the user. So let's say the task is split up into three chunks. So we say each chunk should be doable in 15 minutes, for example. So,
Mhm.
and if they maybe, but I don't know. I mean, but how I imagine
Yeah,
it is that our app helps people, and is opinionated that they
I think.
don't need to.
So you want
decide
to
the-
remove the thinking process of the customer or
Yeah.
the user, so to say. And I totally get that point. So maybe we can, again, this is just, we can still change this later on, but maybe something possible would be confirm suggestion. So he's saying split major. So he's entering his task and he's saying, okay, I have this task and I want to split it into 4, for example. And then we are suggesting him a timing, like let's just say we use the Pomodoro technique and we're telling him, okay, you're going to work 20 minutes on this, then you've got 10 minutes time, 10 minutes pause, and then again 20 minutes the next task. And then he can either say yes, or he can adjust the slider a little bit and can say, okay, I would like to have 15 minutes pause, and all of these tasks need a small adjustment timing wise, but he can also just directly jump into the execution.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Okay, then the next part would be then probably getting things done, right? So this would be the reason why I had this is because, of course, we could say we cannot track this and we don't really add this to the roadmap. But then again, this is probably the most crucial part, because at this point, we have to assist the user so that he doesn't, stop doing it. So maybe, we have to think about some mechanisms, how the user is, inclined to keep the web app open and not open anything else. And we still have to think about the technical feasibility here, of course, but and maybe also, maybe we can add some sort of small little animation or something's going on, you know what I mean? Like some incentive to get things done.
Some gamification.
Maybe also not. I'm just thinking out loud. What are your thoughts on that?
No, sounds good. I like it.
Okay, and after getting things done, maybe another thing that I have in my mind is some sort of, I'm not sure if you can call it tracking, but a review or a rating. So he just splitted those major tasks into smaller ones, and maybe he can say, or the app asks him, how did you do? So are you confident with the things you did? Were you able to concentrate, or did you have problems concentrating? So then when we think about future features, we could incorporate some sort of, statistics. This month you were very confident, or you focused a lot, but the other month you weren't that confident, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me a little bit on some aspects of the Scrum process. So like the split major tasks into smaller tasks and then confirm it is like a little bit like the t-shirt sizes or something like that. Like
that's true.
Is a big task or a small task and so on. And then the last step is like, was my assumption correct or not? And so, exactly, yeah. But
it's funny because
I think that's What did you want to say?
No, I just thought it's funny because we both worked at the same company, right? But we both never applied any Scrum concepts in that company. But we both worked on Scrum projects separately in other companies. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. But you're right. I'm just copying the whole agile lean concept.
Yeah, but I think it's not a bad thing to do, because I guess some aspects of it, if applied correctly, if done correctly, can be helpful to get things done. So
yeah, and we definitely have to maybe also note that this is probably, not mandatory. So at any point we can recommend, we offer the functionality, but he can just remove this window, and that's fine as well.
Yeah, like it's a short review, and you can see some nice graphs, maybe at some point, or like, yeah. But it shouldn't be anything the user has to worry if they don't want to.
Okay. And is there anything else that you want to add to this using step, or do you think that's already, like, for me, without thinking about it further, this would already be a usage circle, so to say, because then in my mind he continues again to add a new major task, split it again into smaller ones? Or is there something else that is necessary at this point?
No, I guess this is basically the minimal viable functionality of our app, and
maybe something like an overview is still also something that's important. So let's say the user created 3 major tasks today. So maybe it would be helpful to increase this, I don't know, habit stacking effect of, okay, you got one thing done, and now you're more motivated to get another thing done. So maybe if we already did a major task today, maybe we have to change the appearance of the application in some way. I'm not saying this is something, you know what I mean? Like something major, could be something very small, but somehow he has to see, I already accomplished something for today. It's like doing your bed in the morning, even though everything, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I'm thinking about two concepts here. The first one I think is what you mean, is like the I call it the baby step concept. So like, there's one important thing you want to do today, and if you have done this one, then you are you have accomplished everything you need to accomplish, and then you can do other things maybe, but it's all extra basically. And the other thing I'm thinking about is the don't break the chain aspect. So like, I want to do this or that every day or every week, or something like that. But I don't know if we maybe this is stuff for future us, or not sure about it. But I think let's start with the first aspect. So like because I think that's very important for motivation, is that you have the feeling you are not overwhelmed by all the things you have to do. And for me, what works for me is this baby step thing, like, yeah, I did one important thing today, and that's enough. And if I do nothing else, it's still good enough. And if I do more, it's awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think maybe it's good to focus more on this accomplishment aspect, saying exactly like you called it, the baby step principle.
Baby step, yeah.
And
I don't know if this is a thing, but
I think I thought you just came up with that now.
Yeah.
And then definitely also see this don't break the chain concept in a, I don't know, later step, but I think for now this could be cool, because from the accomplishments we can then cycle this again to add a new task, right? Okay, cool. And the last, so maybe we can start connecting this now. You can, by the way, also assist me in doing that. Bless you.
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, so you can, if you open Miro here, and you're looking on the toolbar on the left, you can also add here an arrow. And if you connect that to the notes.
Okay. So do we do this for all of the notes?
Basically, yeah. Really very quickly. So social media will lead the user probably to the landing page, right? Word of mouth will lead the user as well to the landing page.
I mean, as I see it, they can lead all to both basically. Or
Yeah, I think so too. I think we shouldn't overcomplicate this for now because it doesn't really have
yeah,
a major impact. So let's just say we have one platform, and because we already listed here the stream in the discovery. So, and of course, you could go
Yeah.
from the stream to further videos and then to the landing page, but it doesn't really affect the process too much.
Yeah. Okay. So then they all lead to the two other ones. So it's pretty much linear process.
Yeah, definitely. And from there, he opens it in the application. This is a linear process, probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He splits it into major tasks, then he confirms the suggestion. Then he's getting things done. He's reviewing it, and then he gets some sort of result based on the review to see his accomplishments in whatever way that might be. And then again from here, the user could either cycle back to the creating further tasks, right? Or he could also, of course, achieve his goal. Because I think from the accomplishment part, we could reach the goal, right? So in 2 years' time, people will use our application to get into the mindset of getting things done. And I think through getting to know maybe this process and doing this on a regular basis, I'm sure that you get into the mindset of getting things done right, because you see, you get a clear history of the things you achieved, so it naturally reinforces, right, your will to do these things again. So I'm just thinking now how we can incorporate the different personas, right? So if there's really a differentiation that we need to make. So for example, for the millennials, is there anything that they would do differently in the usage?
I mean, in the usage, not in the usage, but I think how they get to know us, it's probably different for digital creators. Maybe a lot of our followers are digital creators and watching our stream and social media, basically.
So digital creators would be stream or social media?
Stream and social media, I think.
Yeah. And also probably word of mouth, right? Because most of our colleagues are, no, I'm not sure, but probably the ones we talk with about this project are probably also creators themselves or somehow connected to the creator scene. Then a student,
is probably mostly via word of mouth. With when one student discovers our app somehow, then hopefully it spreads.
Yeah, maybe blog. Yeah,
blog and search engines, maybe. And yeah, I think this answers the question if we need the last one, because I think it's pretty much the same as the students.
Yeah, because millennials would find us through social media only, of course. And yes. Okay. Yeah, and what's even more important probably is the usage, right? So is there any difference when it comes to the usage? So maybe do we need to have some sort of onboarding functionality, so explaining the features? And if yes, would a student be probably, I'm just thinking out loud now, but would a student be inclined to skip an onboarding process because it's more digital native, and a digital creator might take a look at it? You know what I mean? What I'm trying to achieve here.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
just thinking, is there any difference in the usage? If not, it's fine as well. But
I
maybe
mean,
there is.
I guess there is because, but not, yeah, I guess students use it more. Uh, so digital creators probably use it every day, maybe, or very regularly, and students maybe just for certain occasions. So like a student might not use the tool for a couple of weeks and then use it very extensively. I
Mhm.
guess this is maybe a difference. Could be a difference.
So the amount, so how extensive the person is using the app.
Mm. And
Hmm.
the interval basically. So like a student, so some people might use it every day, but I guess a student, for example, will use it more like for special occasions,
Hmm.
I assume.
Yeah, I would. So I would probably agree to that. So for the one target audience, it would be um,
An
yeah,
everyday
expensive.
tool,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
for
And
the other, it's more like,
how would that impact the user journey? So would the user who is only using it once in a while need extra guidance, or would the digital creator who's using it on a regular basis need extra um, reassurance? And you know what I mean? And
yeah. I think the review process and the accomplishments are more interesting to people who use it more often. Like
Mhm.
for a student, it's basically, yeah, I want to learn this thing and I have to prepare for this test. And they are not that much interested uh, in past times they used our app. But for more professional use cases, they might want to optimize their own process and have more insight in
Mhm.
how they solved tasks in the past.
Okay. Mhm. So probably we have to then duplicate this, right? And they have a very similar journey um, up until the usage, right? And then
Mhm.
for the usage, the student would then come from. So, okay, so the first differentiation would be mobile or browser. I think that's probably both target audiences are using
Mm.
both. So I'm not sure if we should differentiate too much. I think maybe we call it OpenStay application, right? And we think about the. Yeah, I mean, maybe we have to focus
Mm.
on
Yeah,
the
but
device later on
yeah,
in the process.
yeah.
So we have here an intersection where both target audience are doing the same thing. And then we have split major tasks into smaller tasks. That's probably the same. But again, here, I'm not sure. Confirm suggestion. Is this confirm suggestion something both parties need as well? Probably, right?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, one could make the argument that a professional might not trust the suggestion and always wants to,
Yeah, that was my thinking here as well.
yeah, set everything manually. But I still, in my head, it's like the app should know best. You know what I mean? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
personally, I'm a person who never trusts the default settings, but still, somehow, uh, I think the goal should be that the app, because our users come to our app because they don't know how to get a task done in the most efficient way, and so we should we should have a good advice and a good default. So I guess
Mm-hmm.
the confirm suggestion step is, in my opinion,
Okay. Yeah.
for
Mm-hmm.
both.
Okay, so probably this would be very similar. You said for students they might not use the review feature, right? And then
Mm.
we want to achieve the same goal for both target audiences. So maybe for the student needs extra maybe reassurance that he's going to use the app again later on.
Mm-hmm.
So
What do you mean by that?
maybe some content on, I don't want to call it productivity, but some content on the topic of focus. So maybe after he achieved something, it's not so much about reviewing only, but maybe we can also include some educational content, like what are the benefits of committing to focus time over the long run. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then what else could there be? So what's something else that is, or do you think that's already a journey we could go for?
I mean, I think we wouldn't make it too complicated because, like, the first step, I think it should be very, very simple. So
Yeah, definitely.
I
Okay,
think
yeah,
it's
I think
already.
you're right. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't overcomplicate it at this point. Um, Maybe if we take a look at the time we can spend, actually, maybe adding two target audiences and differentiating too much at this point is also not the wisest idea. So I think we can leave it like this for now, and
Mhm.
maybe adjust some minor things along the way if we see, okay, some certain features are really important for students, for example. I think it's already good that we define these two target audiences and we know now who we are
Mhm.
developing this app for specifically,
Yeah.
and not wildly generating it for or developing it for everyone, because then again,
Yeah.
maybe it's not really suitable for everyone, right?
Yeah, I like that too because I think it's much easier if you know your target audience very well and
hmm
if you yeah if you focus on the
Yeah, and then
specific needs
again,
of certain types of users.
and I think that's again the whole purpose of this design sprint, to get something quickly up and running, and then to also iterate or test it with actual users. So maybe we can even get some digital creators on the stream for 30 minutes once we have some sort of working prototype, and get
Mhm.
some feedback on it. Okay, cool. Yeah. So that's the roadmap for now. And the last thing we're going to do now is we're taking the how might we's we defined in the last
Mhm.
video, and we're going to map those on the map. And the reason why we are going to do this is to find a focal area for this sprint. It doesn't mean that we are not tackling any other area. So we could still, for example, create a landing page for, even though no how might we is affecting the landing page, but it's definitely not
Mhm.
the major focus. Um,
Okay.
so we are just going to take one how might we now, and we are um, adding the how might we to one part of the roadmap.
Mhm.
I can just start now. So how might we make tasks simpler? Um, and that's a very good question. I'm not really sure. It doesn't have to be strictly one point, right? We can also say it's somewhere in between here.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
just to demonstrate the whole idea, if I add this, for example, how might we make big tasks simpler? If I add this in between those two, split major tasks into smaller tasks and confirm suggestion, then maybe then maybe the most important part of the sprint would be to think about a um, good and functional suggestion system that is
Mhm.
adding
Mhm.
some real value. And then we are not so the purpose of this is to not come up with a full roadmap of sketches and thinking about every little tiny detail, but instead we think about everything very high level, but really putting in like brain power into one specific
Mhm.
area. Yeah, and I think that's probably, the splitting part is something that has to work seamlessly, right? And maybe also
Yeah.
the
Definitely.
suggestion. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think so too.
hmm Okay, you can take the next one at any point, right?
Okay, so how might we help people stay committed? I guess this one is part of the review of the accomplishments, if I see this correctly.
Yeah, I think so too. Because in order to keep them motivated, they definitely need some sort of incentive to continue. So maybe the accomplishments, have some sort of gamification aspect or anything similar. But I think that's a good point. Then how might we nudge users to break down tasks? And by nudge, I think you meant, how can we enforce the splitting part, right?
Yeah.
So that would be more here at the splitting. The splitting. So I think it's
I mean,
purely probably.
yeah. I mean, I think that's the right place here, but basically it starts even at the beginning, maybe like it's also a little bit related to getting people to use our app in the first place, because
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's actually. Yeah, it's definitely not
but
only
still
about splitting, right?
yeah, but I think it
Somewhere in
fits
between
here
those
best, I
two.
guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but
So
and I see your point. Maybe it's about also the educational content. It's so that we explain to users why we think it's wise to split tasks into smaller ones.
yeah. So because when they discover our app, they may be not convinced yet that this is the best approach to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
and probably they are right.
I don't think so.
No, I'm just kidding.
Uh, how might we help people stop procrastinating? I think, I mean,
By the way, could you
not
probably
quite sure if
scroll down a
it's,
little bit? Thank you.
yeah, not quite
Perfect.
sure if this is again here or is it more at the beginning, maybe?
That's a good one. Yeah, I guess it's probably what after it. Yeah, it's probably after the opening of the application, right? And I think it has to be very approachable and very easy to start, because if you're already procrastinating and you're going as far as opening a solution to not procrastinate, and then again you have to click on 10 different settings and need to,
Yeah,
but you know what I mean. I think we want people to stop
yeah,
thinking, so we really need some good suggestion system, and
yeah.
definitely also a good
I mean,
a
there's
good
also
interface.
there's this technique that if you want to go running every day, for example, you should put out your running dress and your running shoes before uh, at the evening, for example, and then you can easily go running in the next morning. So like make it as easy as possible to
Yeah,
get
like
going
lower
again.
the barrier to.
The barrier. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also a good one. Yeah, I think we can also maybe add some knowledge from habit forming books and stuff like that. Okay,
Yeah.
the next one would be how much we force people to stick to a specific route. Yeah, that's also a good one. That's probably between confirm suggestion, right, and getting things done. Because on the one hand, we offer a specific route, and while we definitely want the users to get started, it also has to somehow fit their purpose. Because if they have very specific tasks in mind and they know these tasks might take 30 minutes and the other one only 10, and we make
Yeah.
a very average suggestion, right, then this could be a problem. And then also during the getting things done phase, can we somehow help the user if he decides during the getting things done phase that some circumstances, changed and he wants to adjust something? So yeah, tricky, but I guess somewhere in between here.
Okay. So the next one is how might we make it easy to directly get into the functionality? Oh yeah, this is definitely also at the start, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think so too. And the very last one would be, how might we keep the app minimalistic? Which basically affects the whole application, but most importantly, also the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's
Because for power
basically
users, I think it could get a bit more complicated for power users or for people who are using the app over a regular amount of time, right? But for first-time users, I think it's very important to make the app look as easy as possible, so that they are not getting confused or having to think too much about the functionality. Okay.
yeah, looks good.
Yeah, I think so too. So we already mapped all of our How might we's now. And if we zoom out here a little bit now, we can see that actually most of the How might we's affect the very beginning of the usage phase. And that's that's the whole purpose of this exercise, right? To find out where we should put in the most effort. And I will now just drag and drop a rectangle here and increase the thickness a little bit, and maybe choose a very strong accent color. Yeah, these are all not ideal, but okay. And I guess this would probably be the part we will have to focus most on, right? How wide would you like to make this area? Do you see it more only here on the split into major tasks into smaller ones, or would you also like to put in this confirmation suggestion functionality, or I guess this would also somehow summarize the MVP in a way, right?
I guess this is good one, yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Good.
yeah. I think because the getting things done one is where we can support the user, but I also think it's mostly the user doing the stuff here. So I think at the beginning, if we get the first part right, then the user can be left alone with the get, or in quote unquote, get left alone in the getting things done part, and later on in later iterations we can improve the getting things done step and help the user more there. But I think at the beginning the first part is crucial.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Yeah, I think then we can already call it a day probably for this stream. I think it was quite productive. We invested now around
So too.
1 hour 30, right? And even though, and usually I think this would be much more efficient because we really took time to discuss everything in detail and go over everything step by step, and not doing everything separately and then just discussing the results. So looking at the 1 hour 30 we invested, we came up with a long-term goal. And the long-term goal was, as we can see here on the end, in 2 years' time, people will use our application to get into the mindset of getting things done. And after defining these long-term goals, we defined sprint questions that we will use throughout the design sprint and also the development phase to help us realign in case some problems might occur, or in case we realize it's not working the way we intended it to be. These were: can we find the right niche for the application? Can we find users to try our app? So that's more a question that is targeted towards marketing and spreading the word. And then a question that Mao came up with. Maybe you can again quickly summarize that.
Yeah, so can we keep the technology stack clean? This was about my fear that get too hung up in in exploring new things that I want to try out and I don't have the time to do in my day job. And yeah, that's one of the problems that might arise, but I hope we can keep it in check.
Exactly. And yeah, after defining these sprint questions and the long-term goal, we then came up with a very high-level roadmap for our future application, and we mapped the how might we's from the last session onto this map. And I guess we have a very good basis for the actual development now. And I feel much more confident than I did before these two streams. I think even though there's no actual outcome that you can use, right? We already have some things that help us move forward, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, I think we aligned on the big picture, and I think too we have a good outcome today. Yeah.
Great. Are there any more last words you would like to say?
Yeah, I want to thank our viewers, of course. So, like, we have 3 times more viewers, or at some point we had 3 times more viewers than last time. So, 3 instead of 1. So, I think that's a
It's better if
success.
you are not talking about the specific numbers, then it sounds much more awesome. 3 times more views.
Yeah, there's no shame in starting small, I guess. Yeah, but I
No,
think too
exactly.
it was a good stream, and we had some. I think that the discussion about certain ideas we had were really really helpful, and yeah, I'm excited about getting to code something in the next streams.
Yeah, me too. Can you maybe give us a very quick outlook for the next stream?
Yeah, so next week and the week after next week, there will only be me because Raphael has to do some stuff for the university. And my plan is that in the next stream, we take a look at the technologies we want to use and maybe play around with a couple of things to find out if we can use it to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And yeah, I hope that in 2 weeks, maybe I can start building a very simple prototype or prototype is maybe too much to say, but something that is able to so we can save data and we have the basics lined out so that in the next stream when Raphael is back, we maybe can build a real prototype or we can start building a real prototype.
Exactly, yeah. And
That's
then
the plan
when
for the next 2 weeks.
yeah, that sounds very cool. And then when I'm back again, I think from the design part, the next step would be to do some high-level design research. So maybe take a look at some competitors, how they solve certain problems, and also take a look at other software applications that have interesting features that we could include into our application. Would be also interesting, I think, to do that design research in discussion with a developer, because then usually when you do design research, you always do it from a design perspective. And if you would show something to a developer, he would usually be like, okay, that's not feasible at all. So I'm interested in hearing your opinion on that. And then we are going into the prototyping phase and sketching solutions for the application. So it's getting more hands-on in the future streams, right?
Great. Yeah, sounds good.
Then thanks for tuning in and have a nice evening.
Thank you. See you.